thank you for joining us this morning. The truce is well and truly over, and this weekend residents of the southern city of Khan Yunis say the bombardments have been the heaviest they have been. It doesn't seem as if you are listening to calls from your allies, including the Americans, to take more care to protect civilians, does it?
On the contrary, we're making a maximum effort, maybe even unprecedented in similar circumstances. We've designated, it's not the entire city of Khan Yunis which is going to be susceptible to combat operations. We've designated specific neighbourhoods, and we've given advance warning to the people in those neighbourhoods, the civilians, to please leave. We've allocated special safer zones for them to go to. And the hope is that we won't see civilians caught up in the crossfire between the Israeli Defense Forces and the Hamas terrorists.
But our viewers can see with their own eyes that civilians are being caught up every single day. And in Gaza, there is not enough fuel, there is not enough transport to imagine that every civilian could respond to every kind of warning.
Obviously, a war's going on. It's a difficult situation. And the reason a war is going on is because of Hamas, that not only started this conflict on October 7th when they invaded our country and butchered our people, but they led to the end of the humanitarian pause. It was Hamas that refused to follow through on its own obligations to release more prisoners on a list that they had agreed to. So the people of Gaza, if they have complaints, they know who they should point the finger at. That's clearly at Hamas. But we will, in the framework of pursuing Hamas, of destroying Hamas's military machine, we will, in accordance with international law, continue to make a distinction between combatants, that's the Hamas terrorists, and the civilian population who are not the target of our operation.
Hamas, though, have said something very different about the end of the talks in Qatar. They say that they were willing to keep talking, there were other proposals, and it was Israel that walked away.
Well, that's obvious that Hamas would say that, but other parties who were a part of the negotiating group have publicly attested to what I said previously, that it was Hamas's fault that the talks did not, that the truce did not continue.
In terms then of what is happening now and the continuing bombardment and the effect on civilians, it's very clear, Mr. Regev, in the last couple of weeks that your allies who want to stand by you have become increasingly alarmed by the scale of your response. The American Vice President Kamala Harris said yesterday that Israel has a right to defend itself, but not at any cost. To many observers, it looks like what Israel is doing is a collective punishment of an entire population that is illegal under international law. President Biden said at the beginning of this that the lesson from 9/11 was that a country must not be blinded by rage. Isn't that what's happening here?
Not at all. I would assure you that that is not the case, and we're making a maximum effort. I said before, I used the word unprecedented, to try to keep civilians out of harm's way, to avoid them getting caught up in the crossfire. That is not our goal. That's why we've actually sent out maps a few days ago, which designated the safer areas for people to go to. But it has to be clear, our task of safeguarding civilians is made especially difficult by Hamas's deliberate strategy of embedding its military terror machine, its command and control, its arms depots, its missile launching sites amongst civilian neighborhoods, under hospitals, inside mosques, even schools and UN facilities. And so we are trying to be as surgical as we can be in a very difficult combat situation. But I think when this is over, and the numbers are actually known, because we're all actually using today the numbers put out by Hamas's controlled Ministry of Health, and they have to be taken with a grain of salt. But when you will compare what Israel has done with Gaza, what, let's say, the UK and other Western forces did in fighting ISIS in Syria and in Iraq, you'll see that actually we have succeeded through our measures to keep the level of civilian casualties very, very low.
There are many charities, many eyewitnesses there on the ground who would dispute your description of what is happening to civilians in Gaza. But I do want to pick you up there. You said when this is over. There are many people asking questions about what will happen to Gaza at the end of this conflict. If you are successful in eliminating Hamas, what will happen to this piece of land then?
So it'll be in a better situation, because Hamas has been controlling Gaza for 16 years, and not only has that been terrible and horrific for the people of Israel, but that has been very sad for the people of Gaza, because what has Hamas bought the Gaza Strip? What have they bought the Palestinians in Gaza over the last 16 years? Poverty, bloodshed, misery? Surely the people of Gaza deserve better than this extremist regime, terror regime, that doesn't give a hoot about the well-being of the people of Gaza and is happy to sacrifice the very last Gazan as long as they can advance their very, very extreme, crazy agenda.
Mark Regev, thank you so much for your time this morning. We know it's a busy and fraught time in your part of the world. Thank you for being with us.